This is a CBC podcast.
Calgary. Hi, I'm David Gray.
And I'm Angela Knight.
Welcome to the Calgary Eye Opener podcast for Friday, May 21st. Coming up, blockbuster or bust? We'll hear what movie theaters are planning for the summer ahead. Angela, you check in on a local anime festival?
Yeah, it's called Otafest, and it's happening all day Saturday, live streaming, and they've got some really cool stuff happening.
And we'll go camping. Well, sort of. We'll speak with a camper and his family in Kananaskis. But first, life on the other side. We check in with Calgarians in New York and London. Well, as you're sitting at home, perhaps wondering just how much longer this pandemic can go on, you may have noticed life in some other places is starting to look a lot more normal. For example, New York City. Remember when it was a global COVID-19 epicenter? Not anymore. As of Wednesday, this week, masks aren't even mandatory for people who have received both doses of the vaccine. Ophira Eisenberg is a former Calgarian who lives in New York City. She does stand-up comedy, and she hosts the NPR show Ask Me Another. And she joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to hear your voice. What's it like in the Big Apple right now? Can you paint a picture for me?
Yes, I'm looking out my window right now, and I'm seeing, so basically a lot of people are outside. They're smiling, and I say that because I can see their mouths. So when you're outside, it is now okay for you to not have a mask. But I will tell you that a lot of people here, after surviving this last year, are still wearing their mask. But venues are open, restaurants will seat you inside. There's tons of outdoor seating, too, which everyone is taking advantage of. But it feels people are out. People are out, and they are celebrating.
And the weather helps, too, right? Doesn't it feel like full-blown summer down there?
It's very warm. Yes, it's very warm right now, yes.
All right. How do you feel about that after everything New York has been through over the last year?
Yeah, this place I feel we didn't have a lot of relief over the last year. There was a short time where things seemed to be opening up a little bit, and then it was really just shut down again, and that was in the early winter. So it's been a long time. The vaccination rollout felt slow at first, but now it's pretty much, I've been vaccinated plus the 2 weeks afterwards since the beginning of April. Many people I know are exactly in the same boat. So they are vaccinated. They're past the point of even, just being totally in the clear. And it feels like maybe we're on the other side. Like it does feel like life is starting again.
And people using the subway again? Are the crowds coming back? Are you seeing any of that?
Oh yeah. The people. There's more people on public transportation. Everyone is still masked on the subway, and I think there's a feeling that maybe we will always be masked on the subway, because I think we've also learned something about just, warding off colds and everything in general. And then I do stand-up comedy, and I've been going back to the clubs, and, there's still socially distanced tables, but people are there. And right now, that's really the only entertainment that is happening, and they're really good audiences. I will say that. But it does feel weird. Your brain, after this year, taking off your mask and being inside, it does take a moment where you look around and go, is this okay? Because you've been so hardwired in the other direction.
I'm wondering what's it like doing stand-up right now? Are you behind plexiglass? Or, are people seated far apart? What's that like?
So every place is a little bit of a different setup. But yes, there's plexiglass in front of the stage on some stages. Other stages just have people, at least 10 to 16 feet away from the stage and really far apart from each other. So in some ways, in the past, you would consider that completely not ideal as a performer. But after this year, you're like, fantastic. People? Great. We have people in the same room. This is amazing. And you really do get the feeling that everyone is really happy to laugh.
How about Broadway concerts? I'm sure it helps that you're the only show in town right now, but are they opening up again? Where are they at? Do you know?
So so music is not having the fastest start. That doesn't seem to be happening. There is some outdoor music happening here and there. There's even pop-up concerts around on the corner of sidewalks and streets, and it's just amazing. That really does fill you with a bit of joy. You see a lot of creative ways for people to express their art. And there is talks that Broadway will open in September. That is what we hear. But, I guess we'll see, because that still seems to be figured out. And that seems huge. That does seem huge.
Nice to hear about life slowly getting back to normal there. Ophira, thank you so much for being our New York correspondent this morning. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's good on the side. You can hug people every once in a while. It's nice.
Okay. Thanks again for joining us.
My pleasure.
That's former Calgarian Ophira Eisenberg. She lives in New York City, where she performs stand-up comedy, and she hosts the NPR show Ask Me Another. All right, let's go now across the Atlantic Ocean, where the pubs are open again in England. Apparently, you can even go to a show now in London's West End. Alicia Moore is a former Calgarian in London. She joins us now. Good morning, or I guess good afternoon where you are.
It is indeed afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Good of you to join us. What's the reopening been like in the UK?
Oh, gosh. It's been a mixture of exciting but surreal all at the same time. It's pretty great, to be honest. I know it's the exact opposite for you guys, so I apologize, but it's been a long, long year for us.
I'll bet it has. We need to hear about it. You know, I thought shutting down the pubs felt very extreme in Britain. What was it like when they reopened?
I didn't think the country would ever do it or they'd survive it, to be honest. It's such a pub culture here, such a strong pub culture. But yeah, they just opened up Monday, and you can actually go indoors and have a drink and have a meal. And that the last time that happened was just for a couple of weeks prior to Christmas. And then prior to that would have been, I think, March. So it's been pretty severe. I think it's been about 18 weeks that they've been open over the last 14 months.
Oh. Does it feel the same in the pub now? Does it feel the same as before?
Well, I prefer it, but I'm old. It's much more civilized. It's much quieter. There's table service, which there never was before. You don't have to jostle or jockey at the bar to get a drink in. I prefer it, but I'm not a young person. I'm older.
Okay. That's how you meet people, is when you jostle at the bar. But I get what you're saying. So what kinds of things have you been doing that you couldn't do at the height of the public health restrictions?
Well, I've just come back from glamping with my family. Haven't been able to do that in a year. So that was wonderful, even though it was very cold and wet, because it is London. That was really exciting for my son. We've been able to go and meet friends outdoors in groups of 6, no more than 6. Prior to that, you could only go outside with one other person from your household. So that was pretty tough, especially for my son and his mates. That's really difficult for the kids. And to be able to go to the park and he can meet up to 6 friends has just been so good for them.
Much has been made about the fact that you can hug each other again now, being a person of British ancestry. I think, well, why would we start now? But okay, I understand that at least there's an attitude change. Have you been hearing from your family and friends back here in Alberta? Are they a little jealous of how things are going where you are?
Maybe, but I think they're quite concerned about anti-maskers. That's an issue for a lot of my friends and family, the more conservative views that people have of COVID. Most of the people that I know and love are pro-vaccine and are keen to get themselves and everybody they love vaccinated. So the conversations have been more about that, to be honest. I try not to rub it in their face. Let's put it that way.
That's good of you. We all appreciate that. But do tell me, when you walk the streets of London, does it feel different? I mean, we've been talking a lot about eventually turning a corner here. Do people feel like you've turned a corner?
I believe so. I think most people would agree that. I think most people would agree that perhaps London isn't, quote unquote, a friendly city like most Canadian cities. It's differently friendly. And I would say it's a little bit more like how I perceive Canadian cities. People are much more open to talking with strangers and sharing their stories. So that's been really nice. I've really enjoyed that. I hope that stays. But that's something I've really noticed on the streets. And then I run a couple of shops, and I've noticed that the customers coming in are talking a lot about the localism agenda and wanting to make sure that they support their local shops, because they know if they don't, they're not going to be there in the future. So I think these are all good things to come. A few of the good things that have come from COVID.
And I think that's something we're adopting here as well. Look, Alicia, thank you so much on short notice for joining us this morning. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And good luck with everything.
You bet. That's former Calgarian Alicia Moore. She joined us from London, England. You're listening to the Calgary Eye Opener podcast. Supposed to be some big blockbuster movies coming out this summer. Cruella, amongst others.
That looks really good.
I know. Where are you going to watch it?
Hopefully a theater?
That's the question right now, right? This week, the head of Cineplex called on the federal government to provide more financial relief to Canadian cinemas and for provinces to at least include them in earlier phases of reopening. Movie theaters across Alberta have been closed since November. Wow. Bill Walker's the CEO of Calgary-based Landmark Cinemas, and he joins us now. Morning, Bill.
Good morning, David.
Heading into popcorn season. This is usually a big season for you, right?
It certainly is. We wish we could serve a bit more. Uber and Skip just can't move enough popcorn for us.
Yeah, I guess that's true. What's the situation right now? Can you describe it?
Well, we're fully closed across all of Alberta and really across the country, with the exception of Saskatoon, where we remain open. And then we're just in the process of kind of, as every province moves into the reopening plans, we're just in the position of making sure that we try to get appropriately placed in those opening plans, because our sentiment has certainly been that we've been behind many other businesses that were equal or even safer than in those opening phases.
And that's, to be clear for people listening, it's province to province, right? There's no national plan. You've got to deal with each province's rules.
It is. Each province has created their own system. So we operate across 5 provinces, and every province has had their own nuances to how they've approached these reopening phasings. All
right. Do you have any indication as to when movie theaters will reopen in Alberta?
No, we really don't. I mean, we got some feedback a month or so ago that they thought by mid-June they'd be in a place where entertainment venues like theaters would be open, but there's been no specific guidance. And we had the phasing plans, the sort of 3-phase plan that we all experienced for a few weeks prior to this most recent closure, where, again, our point of frustration is theaters have never been linked to one case of transmission, not one in the entire country, frankly, in all of North America. Yet restaurants and gyms, and I'm not advocating against those venues, but there have been demonstrated cases of outbreaks in those venues. And so we continue to open sort of venues that have demonstrated spread versus keeping theaters restricted when we've never been sort of proven part of the problem.
I hear the frustration. In Ontario, they just unveiled their new 3-phase COVID reopening plan. As I read it, movie theaters in the last phase, and Correct. They won't open until the end of July. Is that right?
Yeah, end of July to early August, depending on how the vaccine rollout goes. And that's, with indoor dining and with fitness not opening until that period as well. I think most frustrating there is in the second phase of that plan, you can have up to 5 people for an indoor gathering. And so the idea that you can gather with 5 people from a regulated perspective, but the reality is once people go indoors, regulations are gone. The government doesn't have a say at that point in what happens. Whereas when you open venues like theaters, where we're going to adhere to whatever policies we have and whatever regulations are placed upon us to enforce social distancing, to sanitize, to clean, to provide space for all of our guests, you can create a much safer venue. And so again, I think we're focused on somehow the symbolism of indoors versus outdoors versus the actual data and science that would suggest what venues are a problem and what venues ultimately I see as a solution in the sense of providing a safe thing that people can do that makes life feel normal. Because I think that's all we're really looking for.
So I don't know about others, but it's those hot summer days where I love going into a nice, cool, dark theater in Ontario. And it's the only place to escape from the humidity, as I recall. And that, I guess that's probably the time that you're supposed to be making most of your income, at least a big chunk of it, right?
Interestingly, last summer when we were permitted to open, we really didn't have a lot of content to put on our screens. This year, I think the difference is we have content. We have consumer confidence coming back, but we don't have the permission to open. I mean, the U.S. is wide open from a theater perspective, and so the studios are going to start to release those big blockbusters that have been on hold for over a year now. And so we're certainly going to miss out on that content from an economic perspective, and customers are going to miss out on that content and have to make different decisions on how they're going to watch it.
Have you come up with proposals? Because you've been down this road. So are there ways that you can say to local health authorities, look, we'll reopen, here's our plan, here's how we're going to space out the seating? Have you tried that? Obviously you've tried that. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, all that stuff has been communicated to all the provinces. And it's kind of remarkable where every province was great on the very first reopening at this time last year. Engagement, sector-specific consultation. They were reaching out. They were trying to understand how we could do this. Ontario released a reopening plan yesterday. They never spoke with anyone. They absolutely never consulted, never engaged, never tried to understand what the data would suggest of individual sectors. And so we're dealing with the same thing in Manitoba right now. We're trying to get engagement. In Alberta, we've had some discussion, but it's not really clear how we're going to be categorized. We just want, from a government perspective, to reach out and really make sure they understand what it is we can do. And if they have concerns that make them feel like theaters are a greater threat than we do, we want to understand that, because we just think there's a disconnect in how we're constantly being categorized.
On the flip side of this, do you know if your customers are chomping at the bit to come back? I mean, I ask that because, the Stampede came up with the notion that they're going to have some kind of a Stampede, just a little more over a month from now. And a lot of the public reaction has been heavily negative. So what's your read on what your customers want? Are they ready to go back to theaters now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's segments of customers that are absolutely ready to go back to the theaters right now. There's a ton of vaccinated people in Alberta and Calgary that would say, absolutely, I'm ready to go. And then there's just passionate film lovers that want to get back and experience their hobby, their pastime that they enjoy so much. I think our piece is we're not saying that everybody needs to come back to the theaters, and ultimately I don't think there's an immediate economic recovery. But I think there's a path of rebuilding consumer confidence, getting people reacquainted with out-of-home entertainment venues, and that's going to happen in waves where there's going to be sort of that initial early adopter, and then people are going to discover that, okay, it's safe, the cases continue to be low, there's no transmission in theaters, and those next phases of customers are going to start to come out as we get towards the fall. But we got to get open to start that process. And it's been 15 months without any profitability. We've lost money every month since March of last year. It's an incredibly difficult period where we just hope to be able to start to see the recovery.
And as you mentioned, the difference this summer is that the movies are out because things have changed in the States. They're not sitting on the releases anymore. That's how, when you think about Black Widow or Suicide Squad or even Bond opening up in the fall, that must be very frustrating for you to not be able to share in that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we can't get the fall has got Bond, it's got Top Gun, it's got the shot in Alberta Ghostbusters movie to be released in the fall and winter. But in the summer, I mean, there's a lot of great content. There's Black Widow, there's Space Jam, there's Free Guy, there's Suicide Squad, there's Quiet Place opening next weekend, there's Cruella, as you talked about. Tons of movies, big franchise movies, and we're going to miss out on some of that as Canadians, and that's just a reality of taking the conservative approach, which we're supportive of. And we don't think theaters should be open at all times and should be open at all costs. We're quite reasonable in that sense. We just want to be categorized properly.
All right. Like you, we'll continue to follow this. Thanks for joining us to talk about it this morning on the radio. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, David.
That's Bill Walker. He's the CEO of Landmark Cinemas, based right here in Calgary.
This is the Eye Opener podcast for Friday, May 21st. OdaFest is Calgary's Japanese anime and pop culture festival. This is the 22nd year for the festival, for which 2021 is streaming online all day tomorrow. Jenny Chan is the chair this year, and she's with us on the line. Hi, Jenny.
Good morning, Angela. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Jenny, I know you have been part of this since the beginning. Can you give us a little history on how the whole festival got started?
For sure. Now, I can't count myself as one of the original OG organizers, but we first started in 1999 as the University of Calgary Students Union Club, and then everyone graduated and wanted to continue doing this, so we formally incorporated as a not-profit for-profit organization, and we've been going strong since. My first year with the festival was back in 2004, which only seems like yesterday, but my gray hairs tell me it's been far more than just yesterday.
That's a long time. Now, for folks who are, and I have to admit, I myself am not that familiar with Japanese anime. Tell me, how would you describe it?
So it's anime is just the Japanese word for animation. So it really is just animated stories, television shows, movies coming out from Japan. It doesn't even actually have to come out from Japan, but largely from Japan. That we all just love these stories. Got its boom, I think, in North America here, starting. Really in the 90s for more recent audiences with Sailor Moon and Pokemon and Dragon Ball, and now you see a lot of different stories here now.
And you have quite a lineup tomorrow. This festival is online this year, and I know last year you had to put it on hold. So what's it been like getting everything ready to roll for this year?
Oh, it's been exciting. It's been so exciting. OdaFest to a lot of us here, we're a not-for-profit and uncompensated, all volunteer run. So to be able to see a festival is to actually pull it off is really the reward we get at the end of the day. So not being able to do it last year really felt like we were missing Christmas in a way, So this year, even though we're doing it online, we were like that excitement, that energy of trying to pull off a show is still there, and we're so very excited. A little nervous, we've done lots of in-person festivals, but this is our first time trying to do something online. So we're kind of praying to all the internet gods for good strong internet connections tomorrow, and it should be a lot of fun.
All right, and you've put together a whole day, like so many different sessions online. If you were to help someone sort of navigate their way through it tomorrow, what would be 2 sessions that you think should be checked out for sure?
For sure. So we actually have our full schedule at our website, odafest.com, starting from 10 in the morning until midnight, and we've got, I think, 19 different programming blocks going on. For me, myself, I always like to know a little bit about what goes into the shows that I enjoy so much. So we've got 2 professional voice actors who will be with us, Erica Lindbeck and Billy Kametz. They will be joining us for a Q&A session at 1 o'clock tomorrow. So if you were to tune into our Twitch channel, just go to our website, and there's a link right to our Twitch channel. You'll be able to ask Erica and Billy some questions about what goes into dubbing over some of your favorite animes that out there here. So that's one thing that I personally would really enjoy. Another big part of OdaFest is cosplaying. So that's dressing up like your favorite characters and having a good time. And so this year, so normally at an in-person OdaFest, we've got a whole bunch of different kinds of cosplay contests that people can participate in. This year, we've brought back our main one, the craftsmanship contest, and this one is really celebrates the art history and craftsmanship that goes into creating your costumes from scratch. So we took our craftsmanship contest online this year, and I guess the silver lining of having going online is that you kind of get participants from all over the world now. So we've had entries from literally all over the world with folks showing us the process of how they create these really elaborate, fun costumes here. So that one's happening at 4 p.m. And I would recommend that one, checking out that one here to get a glimpse into what it takes to make some really amazing costumes.
Sounds like there's been some interesting opportunities created by going online. Now, the interesting thing is that everything is available for free. You're not charging anything to check out any of these sessions. So how are you covering your costs?
So every year we do try to make a little bit of festival-themed, OdaFest-themed merchandise, and we do have some available still in our store here. So if you were willing to, support us that way, please check out some of. We've got sweatshirts, we've got pins, we've got lanyards, just at odafest.com, and you can help us out that way too. Similarly, conventions are the lifeblood for a lot of anime and anime and exhibitors and artists here. So it's not just the programming we have going on Twitch today. We also have a virtual exhibitors hall that kind of replicates what it would have looked like at in-person OdaFest. And all of our exhibitors and artists also have links to their individual pages here. So if you can support your favorite exhibitor or artist by clicking through to the booth that way.
All right, that sounds great. Jenny, good luck with the festival tomorrow, and hopefully it's an in-person event next year.
Yes, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Please, everyone get vaccinated so we can see each other again.
Thanks, Jenny. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Jenny Chan with OdaFest. If you go to odafest.com, you'll find the link for tomorrow's live stream.
You're listening to the Calgary Eye Opener podcast. Looking at the pictures down in the Crow's Nest Pass and Pincher Creek area.
Is it just all white?
Have you seen how much snow?
It was about 25 centimeters, I think.
Yeah, we got shots from a listener down in Thanksgiving Ranch, and there had to be, you should see the snow on his porch. You should see the snow right now in Kananaskis, even in Paddy's Flats campground this morning, which you may be familiar with if you've ever headed out to the Elbow area past Bragg Creek. Stephen Rowe is there right now at his campground. That's where we've reached him. Stephen, how are you this morning?
We're doing good, David. Thank you very much. A little chilly out here, but absolutely lovely.
Tell me, so are you tent camping? How are you set up?
We've got ourselves a little pop-up trailer and spent a lot of the night trying to get the snow off the sides, and had to wake up this morning to frozen water and getting the snow off of the solar panel as well. But otherwise, we're doing good.
Get the snow off the solar panel. If that's not modern day camping, I don't know what is. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So we got all the luxuries.
When did you set up?
We set up a couple of nights ago. I think about half of Calgary was out here with us putting up pop-up tents, and we're the only ones who are out here now. We're surrounded by a whole bunch of collapsed tents everywhere. But, yeah, it's fun.
So people who are setting up and then going out, which they discourage, but people do anyway, some may be in for a surprise when they arrive. Is that right?
I hope they're not sleeping in their tents, yes.
Okay. But you never even thought twice about not going. Is that fair?
Well, we were supposed to go out a couple of weeks ago, and the weather turned us around, but we thought this weekend we had to do it. We just needed to get out. My wife and I have a couple of days off, and we're out here with our little guy. He's here next to me. I actually woke up before him. He's still in bed. But, yeah, it's lovely. It's nice waking up in this fresh air.
Well, it certainly is. Were you cold last night? What was it like?
Well, we were able to have enough bedding, and, you have to, your midnight run outside the trailer to the tree was a little bit chilly, but otherwise it was pretty fine.
How old's the little guy?
How old are you, Lincoln?
6. Has Lincoln looked out the window yet?
Have you looked out the window yet, Lincoln? No, he's still in bed. He's underneath 3 different giant blankets right now.
So what's the day plan? What do you do at a campsite when it's full of snow like this morning?
So, when it's too full of snow, sometimes I'll go and play with my friends Ben and Saul.
Good. Nice to have... Mm-hmm.
When it's, way too cold, I'm going to stay in here and, play Lego or play the spin things that explodes when he fights.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
I have a feeling we'll be wandering around the campsite with our shovel, helping release some tents from the 20 centimeters plus snow that's on top of them.
That'll be today's job. At least it's something fun to do. Look, Stephen, how's the wood supply? I mean, because I imagine for a lot of people, they're going to get out there, they're going to start the fire, and then they're just going to keep it going all weekend. Is that the plan?
I would expect so. We brought a bunch of wood with us from town, and they are selling wood here out at the campground. So I imagine they'll be doing a brisk business with the wood.
It's a veteran move to bring your own dry firewood. Is this an annual tradition for you?
Oh boy, the May long weekend camping is an annual tradition, but it's also an annual tradition to be knocking the snow off things. It's this is pretty typical for Alberta camping this time of year.
Okay. And is this the worst weather you've had? Probably not. You've seen worse than this, right?
Oh, it's funny, as you're always come out here and you're like, oh, it's going to be great. And then it snows and you're surprised somehow. But really, I don't know why I'm surprised it's snowing. But it's lovely. We woke up, the sun was shining, there's icicles hanging off the side of the trailer. It's a beautiful day. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. I encourage everybody to get out and enjoy themselves this weekend.
I can almost smell it from here. The rest of the weekend, is it looking better? Like no more snow in the forecast? What are you seeing?
I don't know. I was going to ask you, David, because we're kind of far away from technology right now. I'm hoping that it'll get nicer.
I hope it does too. And if not, at least you'll have a great story to carry you through the summer months. Look, the bugs are down. Look at the good side. No mosquitoes, right?
No. There's not a mosquito to be seen here.
See? It's a perfect weekend for camping. Stephen, good luck to you. Good luck to the Lego player next to you. And enjoy your weekend, okay?
Thank you, David. You take care.
Thanks for joining us. That's Stephen Rowe from here in Calgary. He's camping out at Paddy's Flats at this very moment, west of Bragg Creek. He sent us a little photo of his campground covered in snow. He's managed to get it off the camp trailer and off the solar panel. So it should be a fine weekend.
What a trooper.
Yeah.
It gets better. It's not looking as bleak as we thought. 19 degrees for Monday.
That's not so bad. Enjoy the campground. And that is the Calgary Eye Opener podcast.
I'm Angela Knight.
And I'm David Gray. Thanks for listening.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.